You know those 50s poodle skirts? I really wanted to make one, but I didn't really know what design to go with until I settled on a Christmas design. Let's see if we can go and find some felt for this project. I'm looking for something to match this lovely blue. We'll see what they have, so let's go. Okay, I have come back. I've got some ribbon. I went with white to make probably snowflakes. And I got silver and gold sequins with silver and gold beads. Help your sequins stay in place and all that. And I thought this would be fun to add a bit of sparkle to the skirt. Maybe do the whole snowflakes out of this, but I feel like that is gonna be a lot of work. So we'll see. So circle skirts are really basic, right? You basically just cut out a circle, making sure that the circle you cut out from the middle is the circumference of your waist. There are all these little hacks that you can do, and I've seen a million videos online where it's like, oh, just do this and just do that. But my brain has never really been able to comprehend them. I'm kind of intimidated by the math. I did decide that for this project, obviously, I have to overcome my fear of circle skirts. I don't want to use like a pattern. I want to figure out how to do a circle skirt from my waist measurement. It cannot be that difficult. I don't think I have all that much fabric, so I don't really think pockets are really going to be in the equation here. We'll figure that out as we go. On mood.com, I found they have a circle skirt calculator. I'll put the link in my description if you want to go and find it yourself. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do screen record so you can see what I'm doing. How do you do screen record on this? Right. Circle skirt calculator. Your preferred unit of measure, I'm going to choose centimeters. And then it says what length you want. Now the thing is, this is sized in relation to a model that measures 170. I'm not that tall. I'm like 160. Actually, however much fabric I have is how much I'm gonna do. Then you decide what skirt fullness you want. I'm gonna go full circle skirt. That's what I want. And now I have to put in my waist measurement. I think I measured it and it was 73 yesterday. Calculate yardage. So now they say that my waist radius is 11.30 centimeters. I have my fabric folded selvage to selvage with right sides together. Now I'm gonna fold it in half lengthwise. So we have 4 layers of fabric here. And now from the corner where the folds are, I need to measure down 11.3. And then however much fabric I have left is how long I can make my skirt, which is about 51. Okay. And now I'm gonna repeat that for this side, because obviously it's a circle. So that's going to be 11.3 again. 11, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I'm going to do that again diagonally, because again, it's a circle. 11, 1, 2, 3. That's going to be my waist. 51. And now I just have to do a few of these. I'm obviously going to have to let the skirt hang once I've sewn it and let the hem drop, so it doesn't have to be super like absolutely 100% perfect now. That wasn't as hard as I anticipated it to be. I was more intimidated about like figuring out the radius and like the math for that, but now that I have a calculator online that I can do that with, it's so much easier. Also, you know what? I have an idea. Why am I not in focus? I'm gonna use some paper and make a template out of the like little waist corner, this top bit right here, and that way I don't have to ever like work this out again or find the website or whatever. We're just gonna repeat what we did for the skirt, 11.3. Obviously you do your own measurements. Once I had the skirt cut out, I stared at it for a couple of minutes thinking about how I wanted to proceed with the zipper. The skirt is literally just 2 pieces, the skirt and the waistband, so I went ahead and cut that out next. I just cut out a couple of strips of fabric longer than my waist. I would have done just one if I could make it thicker, but because of how much fabric I had left, I decided to do it this way. It'll look the same in the end. fabric I had left were these diagonals, so I used it to make some matching bias to hem the skirt. You may have seen me do this previously because it is one of my favorite ways to hem a big skirt. To make this, I just cut 5cm wide strips of fabric on the bias, sew them together to form a continuous strip across this angle, and then I trim the excess off the corners and roll it up until I need to use it. For the zipper, I had to cut a little opening. I debated opening the whole skirt and sewing it back together after adding the zipper because I was afraid there would be a bulge at the end of the zip, but in the end I did decide to risk it and try it this way. I found the perfect zipper in my stash, and once I had pinned it with right sides together to one of the openings, I stitched it down on my machine. When I pressed that seam, I also pressed the other edge in to form a very slightly lapped zipper. I pinned the other side of the zipper to this edge again with right sides together and stitched it down as well. Then on the outside, I top stitched around the zipper to keep the fabric of the lapped section in place. Moved straight to the waistband, pinning one of my pieces to the skirt with right sides together and sewing that down. Next, I trimmed the excess and pressed the seam allowances towards the waistband. Then I pinned the second piece of the waistband to the first with right sides together along the top edge and the two short sides. Also, I just realized watching this back that I look so much like my grandmother with my hairstyle like this. It's kind of weird. Anyway, I stitched the two waistband pieces to each other, and then I turned them right side out and pressed it all in place, making sure to also press up the seam allowance of the remaining edge of the waistband facing to sew down after. And then, as I usually do, I stitched the folded edge of the waistband in place by hand. So I've done the waistband, and now basically I need to let the waist drop overnight so I can hem it and then add the applique. I could add the applique now, but I think it'd be better if I do it afterwards. I have an idea of the placement, but I'm not 100% sure, and I don't know how much this is gonna drop. So I'd rather do the hem first and then add the applique. So yeah, I guess we will pick this back up tomorrow. Okay, so it's not the next day, it's the day after. I started making the skirt on Thursday and it is now Saturday. I'm gonna go ahead and even it out, then do the bias hem. I'll be ready to start adding some applique. To level out the hem, I find the shortest point, or the point where the hem dropped the least, and measure the distance from that point to the ground. Then I go around the skirt and pin that same height. Once I've got the whole skirt pinned at the correct height, I trim the excess along the pins. With my hem level, I proceeded to sew the bias I made before to the skirt hem with right sides together all around the skirt. I had like 8 centimeters, about 1.5 inches left of bias when I got to the end of the skirt. I was very pleased with myself. Then I trimmed the excess and pressed the bias away from the skirt first, and then I turned the bias to the inside of the skirt and pressed that. And finally, I fold the raw edge of the bias in and press that too. Usually I prefer to then sew the folded edge by hand for an invisible finish, but honestly that was going to take forever and I still had so much applique to sew, so I decided to top stitch the folded edge of the bias in place and move on. With the skirt officially sewn up, I moved things over to the floor so I could lay the skirt flat to mark the placement of my snowflakes. I found the center front of the skirt and used chalk to draw the first snowflake just off center. Here I decided it would probably be best to use a ruler so they're all the same size. I ended up making the snowflakes 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. This means that the big lines were 20 centimeters, the lines that make up the small inner cross are 10 centimeters, and the smaller lines at the ends of the big ones are 5 centimeters. You could do it by eye, but I felt like this would keep them all the same size and help me cut the ribbon later and just make things a little neater. Then I repeated that for all of them. I ended up doing 6 snowflakes in total. Okay, so for the applique, I first cut out all of the ribbon in my chosen sizes and heat sealed the edges to avoid fraying. I also added white thread to the top of my machine to match the ribbon and be less visible, if not invisible. Then I pinned each line in place, starting with the short ones at the ends of the snowflakes and one of the middle cross. And I stitched them in place going over all the edges. If my ribbon was thinner, I could have just done one line of stitching along the center, but it turned out that the ribbon was thick enough that just one line of stitching would have let the edges like flap up, and I felt this would be more secure. The second stage of the applique was to add the second middle cross line. The third stage was adding one of the long lines. I folded the ribbon in half to find the centers and make sure I was matching them. And of course, the last step is to sew the last long line. Now I just had to do that 5 more times. Much later in the day. I've been working on the skirt. I've got all my snowflakes on there. They look super cute. I also want to add my little sparkles now. Also, my partner came in here earlier and he asked me if this was in Elsa cosplay, and I feel like it's a missed opportunity for sure. I'm thinking to put one there and then one each here. Now let's get my needle. Actually, I want a beading needle, don't I? One sequin, and then I add one bead after it. I go back in just for the sequin. I'm gonna go in again just for extra security. That's good. And now I'm just gonna tie this off. Okay, so final thoughts. I love it. I think it turned out so stinking cute. It is exactly what I had in my mind. I did have a lot of fun doing it, and I think the ribbon is a really great alternative if you're doing really simplified shapes. So the only 2 things really that I have to say about this other than I freaking love it is that it turned out shorter than I would normally make my skirts, and it's not like uncomfortably mini skirt short. It's just like shorter than I'm used to, but I'm also kind of loving that. And I think I might make more skirts this length because every time I see myself in the mirror, I'm like, ooh, who's that cutie? I feel super feminine and girly and like cute, and I think that is definitely a feeling I want more of in my life. The only really negative thing about this skirt is that I think I made it too big. It is like a little bit too big at the back. I think I'm gonna fix that with a little button or a snap fastener or something of that sort. But yeah, I do need to go back and tweak my template so that it reflects the measurement better. Yeah, but it turned out super cute. I think the only really con about the skirt is that it doesn't really have pockets. I guess I could cut the sides and like stitch them back together and add pockets that way, or I could add patch pockets, I guess. This was very minimal sewing apart from the applique, which I don't know why, but took me by surprise. I was just like, oh, I don't have anything to sew? Okay, cool. But yeah, I think that's it for today. I think that's the last project, like the last sewing project of the year. I hope to have my last project of the year next week, but I'm not sure. I haven't even finished it and I haven't started the editing, and I don't know if I'm gonna have time to edit it over Christmas. Hopefully I'll have it done in time, but otherwise I guess it'll be the first one of the year. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas if you celebrate. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and consider following me on Instagram and TikTok. I think that's everything I have to say. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.